And welcome everybody to another glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, alongside Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off of the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. Our TPOW podcast is my Twitter handle, and RHOLM22 is Ryan's Twitter handle. It's been hot and heavy over there on Ryan's side on Twitter over there because Twitter war is going on right now, I guess. Everybody going back and forth. If you're doing a YouTube search, I gotta wait a while before I can change it. But you search up "Cover 3 Deep Raiders" and you'll find our podcast. People are listening to our show and watching our show in New York, Chula Vista, California, Butte, Montana, and Phoenix, Arizona. We appreciate y'all for that. And let's see here, 858-299-5592 is the Twitter handle as well. Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I've tweeted out a lot of new content this week, and I've had to turn off the notifications because it's gotten crazy in Raiders Twitter land this week.
It's getting crazy.
I can't respond to all of it. I want to, but I can't.
Yeah, and I have taken a hard pass, and I just kind of like I've written a lot of. I've basically typed them out, and then I listened to the Herm Edwards "Don't press send." Because it's just going to start. It's going to start a whole war, and it's just like it's not worth it. The Raiders are 6-6, not playing good football. Only playing not even a quarter of football at this point. In some of these games, just it looks really bad as far as that goes. I'm going to start off with the big news. I think of the day is we'll get the kickers in the kicking game being signed, but Lincoln Kennedy comments on his podcast with Vincent Bonsignor, talking about he would at this point sit Derek and play Mariota instead of being Cariota. It would just be Mariota playing these games. My thought on it is it's very tough for me because he is, as somebody who watches offensive football a lot and watches tape, college, pro, and everything like that. He's one of my least favorite quarterbacks, Mariota. I'll be 100% honest. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but I do want to see them being used in concert together because I feel like his ability to even throw in a red zone, just that the spontaneity in which he plays, could really help the Raiders in the red zone. I don't know if I want to see full Mariota, and let's be honest, if you play full Mariota, Ryan, Carr is going to be in the game at some point because I don't know if he can finish an NFL game with the way his body is.
Yeah, you sent me that link to that. I listened to it today. Lincoln Kennedy has some very choice words for several members of the Raiders organization. Oh, yeah. It was a very eventful 2 hours. It was a good afternoon listening to that. He did. Now, he didn't take a lot away from Derek. He basically said he's looking for someone to create a spark. He's been in NFL locker rooms. He sees that they're kind of just going through the motions. He questioned a lot of the leadership in the locker room. He questioned who is the guy that's going to take charge on this team. That's a question I've had for years. Mm-hmm. When Derek's been the quarterback, that's always been one of my biggest concerns is you see these downward spirals 3 years in a row. Who is that leader? Who is the take charge guy that guys are going to follow? It's clearly not Derek. We can say whatever we want. It's not.
Can Derek you win?
It's great.
Can you win without a quarterback being the leader of the team?
Win big? You have the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens defense, but it's very hard.
Yeah.
Derek's been great with the media. He's been great. He's a great teammate. Is he an alpha dog in the locker room where these guys are going to rally around him? I don't think he is. And I've been on record of saying that for years. Lincoln Kennedy basically said the same thing. I would not take Derek out this week. Your best chance to win at Kansas City is with Derek Carr. Mm-hmm. It's not with Marcus Mariota. You're going to have to score in the upper 20s to the low 30s to have a chance this week. The defense is not holding Kansas City to 17, 20 points. It's not happening. For this week, it's Derek. If they lose this week, then I'd like to see a little bit more combination. Like you said, I don't think we're at a point where you can just put Mariota out there for 4 quarters and expect him.
He's not going to finish the game. He's not going to finish the game.
The running game is going to look a lot better. The passing game, he doesn't have that rapport with Hunter Renfrow. I don't know if he's going to work the ball outside at all, much to the outside guys. Just within the structure of the offense, you're going to see a lot of zone reads, some counter bash, some screens. It's not going to look very good on offense if Mariota has to play the whole game.
Yeah, exactly.
But if we get through this week and Cleveland and they don't win and they're sitting there at 6-8, then we can have the conversation. Can we see what he looks like once the season's over? Is there an opportunity to bring him back next year? What role would you keep him in? But for this week alone, it definitely Derek needs to start.
Yeah, and I think also too is that once you're, I want to see a little bit more Mariota in the game, mix it up a little bit. I don't want, for some people it's going to be kind of crazy because if Mariota plays well, people are going to be up in arms and say, well, we should have been doing this all season. What's going on? So, but I think I think this week you do need points. Points are going to be at a premium. You have to get points in this game, and points may not be easy to come by because Kansas City, to many surprise and my surprise as well, has been playing pretty good football defensively. Last week they held their opponent down. They held a pretty healthy Dallas Cowboy team to only 9 points in their building. CeeDee Lamb and everybody else were played in that game. They're getting sticky in man coverage there. They're able to get some get pressure on the quarterback. Chris Jones up and down the defensive line. So I would have to agree with you as far as that goes. But the Raiders, some of these stats in the first quarter, they're averaging 3.5 points a game in the first quarter. That's that's worst. They are doing what else are they doing here? That's really bad. Derek's he has one of the worst first quarter
ratings. Yeah.
QB ratings.
I think it was like 83.
83.9. So like it's just not the way to do it. So a question I'm getting from a lot of people is they're hearing too high. Is the too high safety is the only way to battle too high safeties is to run the football? Like what? Like I mean, because like everybody's saying that like too high safety is like that's the reason why they can't go down the field. That's okay. They're playing too high, but like when I'm watching the film, I'm seeing people as you hold the football, the zones get spaced out, and the ability to be able to make plays within those zones, plays become open. So, but there's some plays in this game against the Washington football team where his body, his footwork, like you pointed out to me, is already in check down mode before Brian Edwards, before Zay Jones can just, can get a 15, 20-yard game. Deshaun Jackson get a 15, 20-yard game up the field where that play is possibly open for a big play.
Yeah, so the simple answer is too high coverage. It can be a million things. It's a two safety shell. It could be cover two. You could be looking at cover four, quarters coverage. You could be playing two man. But basically you have both safeties back, which just means they're lighter in the box. So you should be able to run the ball because one less guy inside in the run game. They could be playing trap coverage. They could be playing palms coverage. But a lot of it is, if it's cover two, it's pretty easy. You kind of just, run a corner route. Yeah. Try to get, if that safety drops, sinks, then you throw it underneath. If he comes up in the flat, then you throw the corner. But it's timing. You got to hit it before the safety comes over and that window closes. I don't know how much timing and or trust. Let's just say trust. I listened to Derek Carr's press conference today. He brought up trust a lot. A lot of the concerns you have with him with locking onto one guy and not throwing to other guys, he talked a lot about today. And we've seen this throughout his career where soon as he loses trust in a guy, you might as well just take him off the field and play with 10 because he's not going to go over there. And it's kind of going that way on tape, like you mentioned. Like there's a couple of plays where Zay Jones is coming open on dig routes. He's immediately throwing the ball in the flat to the opposite side. He's pre-reading the defense before the snap. There was two plays in particular that I put out there. There was a 3rd and 3 where he missed when he tried to go in the flat to Renfro against tight man coverage. It's not pressed, but he's up on him. Brian Edwards has off coverage with a curl or a hook route, or I'm sorry, a hitch route on the backside. Mm-hmm. It's man one-on-one. He's got an 8-yard cushion, hike it, throw it out there, first down. Mm-hmm. He's not. He's going straight to Renfro, and defenses know that now. Mm-hmm. He doesn't trust Edwards to be where he needs to be. And so he's just locking him out basically at this point.
Do you, I mean, like listen, we're not we don't have the playbook. We're not in the headset. Is he like when we're seeing this, and some people are proclaiming that people are not they're way off. They're not running the wrong way, stuff like that. Like, is he way off from where he should be out of his breaks? Are they not even running? We talked about like running in breaking routes as well, some double slant stuff, so he can use his physical body. Are they just misusing a guy who should be using who they should be using in physical routes opposed to some of these other routes they're having to do?
Clearly, I've been saying it all season. Like, he needs to be running in breaking bouts where he can get his body between himself and the defender, so Derek Carr has a big target to go through. So the hitch route that I brought up, good example. They hit him on a skinny post down inside the 10, got a 20-yard gain in breaking route. They hit him on a drag underneath, picked up 5 or 6. But Bryan Edwards just doesn't have the quickness or the suddenness to win one-on-one on the outside to the out-breaking routes, the comeback routes. He doesn't have the foot speed to win downfield. They're going to be contested catches. So, you're starting to see a little bit as far as knowing, are they running the right routes or not? We don't have the playbook. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
The play you brought up, the drive concept on the backside, we don't know if it was the Y or the Z that's supposed to run the drag and who's supposed to run the dig. I don't know. But from looking at it, it looks like one of the two messed up. Clearly, I don't know which one it is. And I'm not going to say which one it is. But yeah, there was somebody ran the wrong route there, because you shouldn't have two guys basically almost run into each other. But at the end of the day, it just has to be better.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a stat right now. I've told you, I don't know if the listeners know this. The Raiders, since the bye, converting on third down, have converted 22% of third downs. Basically, 1 out of every 5. They've converted 11 third downs since the bye in 5 games. You can't win any games. I don't care what defense you have if you're converting 2 third downs a week. So we can say whatever we want. They can't get off. They can't pick up first downs. They can't hold on to the ball. They can't run the ball. They can't score in the red zone. The defense isn't getting off the field at the same rate they were earlier in the year, but it's still not horrendous. The offense is horrendous. Let's be honest.
Yes, exactly.
It's horrendous.
Exactly. So you're right. As I think Lincoln Kennedy was talking about, this whole thing, because he's an offensive player. He played on an offense that scored a whole lot of points, and he had an alpha dog. Rich Gannon came in. People didn't know who Rich Gannon was when he first came into the Raiders, and everybody had video games and pool tables, and we all know that story. The next day, all that stuff was gone. And I think this team is, honestly, and I'll say this right now, there are players on this team who play prominent roles, who are very concerned about their Instagram and their Twitter and what people say. So it's part of blocking out the noise is, if you're going to be on it, to me, and you're a pro athlete, let everybody talk whatever they want to talk. As long as they're not once it gets to kids and stuff like that, then you want to block somebody, block them. But at the end of the day, man, there are times where after these games, it's about maybe 10, 15 minutes after games and people are getting blocked. That's that's not priorities. Let's just be real as far as that goes. So we got a couple of questions, and one from the 860. What do you think leads to Carr's inconsistent play? To me, and this is from Hannah. So thank you, Hannah. I hate to say it's him, but I think if he just would walk in to what Biggie had that song, kicking the door, waving the 4-4. If he came in that way and just commanded people to do what they're supposed to do in a forceful way, I think that it would really do a lot to get everybody from, Jacob saying that he ran the wrong way 3 times in one game. You got one job, Josh. I love you, but you can't be run the ball the wrong way 3 times. So, at least he admitted to it, whatever. But he needs to come in and just kind of command that respect, and then tell these guys, get him off the field. If he's gonna run the wrong route, get him off the field. Give me somebody else. Even if it's a practice squad guy, I don't really care. But it starts there, because the frustration with Derek is the last 2 weeks. One week is Daryl LaMonica, the other week is Mark Wilson. It's frustrating as hell.
Yeah, I think it goes back to, again, he's not a type A personality. He's not a guy that I think a lot of people are going to lead based on, fear, like Tom Brady, Rich Gannon. He's not that type of leader. He's more of he wants to care about you and love on you and be your buddy, which is great. You can lead that way too. But he's got a really young team, and I don't think they're responding to that kind of leadership. They haven't in the last 3 or 4 years. Then it goes back to, kind of the slow starts and listening to that press conference today and starting to hear some of the stuff he was saying. I had a lot of concerns with talking about, I stay in my yard. Like, I don't do anything outside of my yard. This is the yard I have. Like, I'm not going to take risks. I'm not going to take chances. Like, I want to do everything I can to make my coaches happy. I'm trying to do everything to make my coaches happy. And it's like, Derek, it's year 8. Get out of your yard, open the fence, walk across the street, and throw a damn touchdown. That's all we're asking you to do. Be aggressive, take chances. And you heard him in the press conference kind of talk about, being cautious early, carrying the ball, not wanting to turn it over. And I think that's leading a lot to these starts. Granted, the offensive line is not playing very well. Guys are missing assignments. The running game's non-existent. But at some point, he's got to take control of this offense and demand better out of all of these guys. And for him to kind of if you just listen to that press conference and had no idea what the Raiders' record were and just listen to him talk today, you would have understood they've won 1 out of their last 5 games.
I would say this too, a couple of things. Number one, he's the man among boys. So like, you need to be the man among boys. Like this whole, like, I'm going to stay in my yard. I'm not going to do maybe that's something like David taught you, but like, this is going to lead you to not being on this team anymore. And maybe, maybe that'll happen and you'll retire or whatever, or you'll go to another team. But like, you need to be the man among boys here. Number one. Number two, there are a bunch of games after the bye, the Giant game, the Bengal game, the Washington football team game, those 3 games, especially, where we weren't even asking you to be Tom Brady, cousin. We weren't asking you to be Aaron Rodgers. We were just saying, give us 21 points. I mean, and I think that is 100% not an over ask for a professional quarterback to put that up with the people who he has around him. Like, he just lost Waller, so like whatever. But like, it's kind of like, that's what we really need to kind of look at as far as that goes. And Hannah, thank you for the question.
I do have one other comment on that. I think losing Gruden affect him mentally more than anything. I think what we're seeing is him going from Gruden, who's saying, don't take your arm out, be aggressive. This offense was clearly built this year around explosive plays on the perimeter, getting the ball down the field to Ruggs, and then you lose Ruggs too. I think Derek's feeling his way, like, what does Rich want me to do? What does Coach Bisaccia want me to do? What does Coach Olsen want me to do? And he's trying to figure out how to appease those guys and understand, okay, Rich Bisaccia is old school, field position, kick field goals, punt, don't turn the ball over, keep it close. Yeah, and I think you're starting to see Derek kind of play that way. And I really think mentally he is trying to, and he said it today, make his coaches happy. And I think the conservative nature that we've seen from Rich Bisaccia is making Derek play that way too, which to me, it's like, dude, if you imagine Aaron Rodgers, imagine that happened to Aaron Rodgers. He just say screw it and you go out and sling it around the yard. Brett Favre. Those guys aren't going to do that. Like, those are Hall of Famers. Don't get me wrong. Derek's not a Hall of Famer, but at some point, you're 30 years old, 31 years old. You have a limited time in this league. You can talk about winning all you want. Go do something about it.
No, seriously. And I mean, look at the opposite way of it. And well said. Look at the Chargers last week. They had their first drive of the game against the Bengals. They had a 4th and goal. If that's
at the 5, yeah.
At the 5. Did they kick a field goal, Ryan?
No, they threw a touchdown.
Oh, they threw a touchdown. You're allowed to do that. So, I mean, and it's early in the game. So if you're going to take a chance like that early in the game, I think it's easier to recover. Like if he throws a deep pass and it's picked off by Tyrann Mathieu and it's like, at the Chiefs 25-yard line, you don't want to see an interception, but you know what? Boom. Hey, they know that you're trying to put the ball down the field and that, you can recover now from that moment. Like it's not that big of a deal to have an early turnover. It ain't the end of the world. Percentage of Mike from the 2-5-3. That's something that's Washington. To come Washington. Percent of blame for the Raiders' struggles, offense, defense, and special teams. One thing about special teams that really annoy me a lot is the fact that they just haven't been great, and your head coach is a special teams coach. So maybe him being not in that circle, maybe out of that circle, really hurt. But I mean, that's probably like, one thing. I think the defense. I mean, I know people are trying to kind of go back and forth on Twitter about the defense. Let me just tell you a little story. So real quick. So in the Washington football team game, okay, I believe that they scored on the first drive of the game, right? Touchdown, Logan Thomas.
Yep.
Ryan, when did they score again after that?
Fourth quarter, I believe.
Fourth quarter. Oh, okay. And the game goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, not 1-4, right? So it seems like it's so. See, and I'm being an ass and being sarcastic, but at least I want people to understand that there's a lot of offensive possessions in the middle of that where the Raiders could have, even if they just got a couple field goals in the first quarter and had 9 points in the first quarter, opposed to, and I hate field goals, but like at least something. Like they're averaging 3 points a game in the first quarter. Get something popping, get something going there. Like if he wants to appease Pasacci, like we said, you know what, he loves field goals, so give him some field goals. Give him 3 opportunities to hit field goals in the first quarter, like, and then maybe a touchdown at the end of the half. But that's where I say I think most of the blame has to go from to the offense. I mean, I know that's something that people are not going to want to hear who are car Knights, but like I just want to say, like, when you watch offensive football, you can't excuse what's going on, especially when you watch film, you follow people like Ryan, and you see people like, people like Phil Jones, people like that, and you see myself when we're posting stuff, like those are opportunities that, like, you have to have a quarterback who's going to look down the field first. Oh, the downfield play is not there, then I'm going to check it. Then I'm going to check it down. Then I'm going to dump it down to Jacobs or Rashard if he ever comes back from COVID.
So this is a good question. This is how I would do it. I'd say the offense is 60%. So they're a majority. They're not They're not fully to blame here. I'm going to go 60% on the offense. The time of possession is not very good. They can't run the ball. They can't convert on third down. They can't score in the red zone. We've talked about that. Do they move the ball between the 20s at times? Yeah, they do. Can they get explosive plays on first and second down? Yes, they can. So let's go 60% there. Defense, I'm going to go 25%. There is some to blame here. They are giving up a lot of touchdowns in the red zone. If they can lock up that red zone defense, I think they're like 77% touchdown. Like if they were at the 55 or 60 mark, they could give up a few less points a game. My thing is, we went from asking Paul Gunther last year gave up 29.9 points a game, and all of Raider Nation just said, give me something a little bit better, and we're a Super Bowl playoff team. Yeah, we can look at the ranking and say, yeah, they're 29th or whatever it is at 26.0 points a game. But if you take the pick sixes out and the kickoff return, which is not the fault of the defense, they're right at like 24.2. League average is 23. We're talking 1 point more than league average. So this defense, it hasn't been as atrocious as people want to say. But are there times where, they played better before the bye because they played Justin Fields and they played Lamar Jackson, who didn't have a very good week one throwing the ball. They played Ben Roethlisberger, who wasn't very good early in the year. They played some quarterbacks that just weren't very good. Coming out of the bye, they played Patrick Mahomes. They played Joe Burrow. They played Dak Prescott. So they're going to give up. They're going to give up a little bit more yards. They're going to be worse than some of the still categories. But at the end of the day, when you look at across the league, over the course of the season, they're 15 to 20th, 21st in most categories. Now we're asking a defense that was the worst that we've ever seen to jump into the top 10 and try to carry this offense. That was not how this team was designed. This team was designed for a top 10 offense to score a ton of points, give us the 2 pass rushers on the edge, and try to hold these people to 24. Guess what the defense is doing? They're holding them to 24. They're doing exactly what we asked them to do. They're getting the ball back for the offense in these games at a fairly decent rate. They're not giving up, like you said, they'll go 2-3 quarters or 2 quarters at a time without allowing any points. That's all we can ask. The Paul Gunther era was beyond atrocious. Now next year, if they add pieces, can they make a jump into the 12 to 15 range? they're going to need a couple impact pieces, but it's possible. But for everyone just to suddenly expect the defense to go from the worst ever to top 10 now because the offense sucks is inexcusable. That's not what this argument is.
Yeah, and I think,
so we'll go 20 to 25 there.
Yeah.
Special teams, I'll get 15%.
Yeah.
This is not on the coverage units or the kicker or the punter. This is on the return units. The Raiders' punt return unit sucks. The Raiders' kick return unit, the last time they returned a kick for a touchdown, I looked this up for someone asked me.
I think I know. Go ahead.
Okay, what do you think it was?
Wasn't Dwayne? Doesn't Dwayne Harris when he did
that was a punt return?
Oh,
when's the last kickoff return the Raiders have returned for a touchdown?
I don't remember that one. Which one was that? Jacoby Ford?
2011. Jacoby Ford. 10 years.
Crazy. Oh my God.
They haven't returned a kickoff for a touchdown in 10 years.
Oh my God. Until this day, every time I see Cordero Patterson for the Falcons, I'm like, dude, that guy that's the one thing that I saw that Downing did when he was with the Raiders. Using him out of the backfield was like he was a monster out of the backfield, and then people are doing that crazy now as far as that goes. I can't believe Jacoby Ford. I remember that game.
Gruden couldn't wait to send him to New England. He traded him before he even used him. They traded him in the offseason for a 5th round pick.
Oh God, amazing.
Jacoby Ford.
That's sad that it's Jacoby Ford. I remember that game crazy. Let's see. The last question would be: would you like to see? Thank you, Mike. This one is from Sharon. So we got a couple ladies on here. Good job. Do you like Leatherwood inside? And how did Diablo play?
Okay. So you can go first.
I mean, to me, it's like I thought it was interesting that like when I listened to Lincoln Kennedy talking about like situational awareness is like it was a big issue for them too as well, giving up like when they're running games on the defensive line, when they're doing stunts and stuff like that, that they gave up some pressures where it was where you just shouldn't give up pressure. Do you think? I think I got to answer this question with another question. Do you think it's easy? Do you get to have? You think he's suspect? Do you think it's easier to have a suspect guard who's going to give a pressure in a quarterback's face, or a suspect right tackle who the quarterback could still step up in a pocket and make plays on the field? If you had a weak spot, if you had a weak spot, I'm answering a question with a question.
Yeah, I would rather have it inside a guard because you can always help with the center.
Okay.
You can't really. It's tough if the tackle.
You can't help a tackle.
He's a turnstile. You're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
So I would rather have it inside. To me, Alex Leatherwood, watching the tape, initially at the move inside, he started to play a little bit better. The last couple of weeks, he's kind of reverting back to a lot of penalties.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting beat a little bit too much. He's getting his arms. His technique's not very good. He's getting his arms outside of guys. He's not really directing them. There was a couple of quick pressures this week where he just got beat quick. So there's something going on there. The fact this offensive line that's now been playing together since, I want to say week 5, they made the change after the Chargers game, and it's just not getting better. It's okay, but you're still seeing the interior 3 guys got whooped this week, and we kind of expected that with Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne inside. Those are 2 of the best in the league, but those guys had their way with any of those 3 interior guys. So that was kind of concerning. Anytime you go up against a defensive tackle that's any good, they're gonna win right now. Spinning it forward next year. I know they're talking about moving Leatherwood back outside. I would just leave him a guard. Technically, his technique issues with his hands and getting too high, way too much forward when he gets into his stance. So he's leaning a lot. Like he's just going to get run around on the outside. So he needs a lot of work over there. I would try to fill the right tackle spot with a veteran. Put someone next to him who's been in this league that can help him. At this point, I'd say Andre James, we gave you a nice check, but there's the bench next year. I'd go find someone else to handle the center spot. Lincoln Kennedy's comments on Andre James were pretty telling on that podcast you sent me about him just never being a center and not understanding what's going on and the calls and the fronts and everything that the center has to do, and he's never done it in his life. So that was interesting. Diablo, let's do that one. Diablo, I like Diablo a little bit. Let's be real. When I turned on the tape, in the run game early on, he kind of got pushed around a little bit, but then you started to see him fill some holes. You started to see him play with some physicality. You saw him, beat a block to tackle for a screen. In the passing game, he can move. Like, he's really fluid, like flipping his hips and running. Watching Corey Littleton's fun covering 3 vertical from the weak side. Diablo actually might do it better. And he's a little bit bigger. He's a little bit faster. Now, are there times where, his technique's off and the run game taking on and shedding blocks? Or is he making some mistakes in coverage? He took a bad angle on that ball that went over his head.
To Logan Thomas, right?
The one thing I did notice is he gets quite a bit of depth in his drop, so they were able to throw it underneath of him pretty easily whenever they wanted. Like, he's kind of playing scared, where he doesn't want anything to get over his head. So he's going to be able to get picked on a little bit. But based on what I saw in the game where he played last week, I wouldn't have any problem moving on from Corey Littleton next year. If Gus Bradley's back and you want to play the same defense, Devon Diablo can do everything Corey Littleton can at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, makes sense. I saw a lot of the same things. I saw a lot of the same things that you saw. So I'm excited. I think I'm going to preface my words and not say excited. I liked what I saw. Now I'm tempering all my positivity now. So I'm going to temper a little bit. But he did. I thought he did do a good job. I wish Gillespie didn't get hurt. That was the guy who, from this draft, I really wanted to see play. So hopefully he can come back and get things going. I'm going to skip the question. Go to all 22 review real quick. Before we go, last words before we go to Kansas City, as far as that goes. Thoughts about what you saw on tape that really disturbed you, as far as that goes. And I mean, I think for me, a lot of things from the offensive end. And I didn't understand. I mean, you can have a bad game, but like, it's just like, to me, it's just like there's so many passes that were just inaccurate. I mean, you got the 2-point conversion, you got all these other plays in here that are just missed opportunities. And it's, you can say whatever you want, it's the guys. I mean, he was highly inaccurate in this game. And I just don't understand why, because there's times where, and you put out that it's not about the offensive line and how much time he gets to throw the football. It's right there with some of the other O-lines in this league.
No, definitely. To answer your other question, Gillespie did practice today, so there's a chance he's back this week or next week. It was ugly watching the Washington football team tape. Like, I was going through that, and it looked like there was some preseason stuff going on, stuff that just you scratch your head at times. Like, who's blocking who, guys not knowing where to go. There was one play where they pulled Foster Moreau to block. There was 2 linebackers in the hole, and he ran right through them. And they stepped right around him and made the tackle on Jacobs. And you're like, dude, you didn't even hit anybody. You ran by 2 guys. So the Raiders, you saw them start to bring in a 6th offensive lineman and Jackson Barton to try to help out to block, because clearly the tight ends aren't getting it done. Some of the route confusions, just the design. I know they don't have a run game, and how are they going to get teams out of too high? And you saw them start to work horizontally with a lot of screen stuff, working Jacobs on a screen in a 3-by-1, some short stuff to the wide receivers to try to pull those guys up. But that's not going to work. Like, you need to start throwing slants, attacking the middle of the field. And you started to see them do that a little bit, attack the seams in the second half. It just takes these guys too long to get going and figuring out what they want to do. It's like, what are they doing in practice all week? Yeah. I thought defensively, again, I know it's year 1, but Gus Bradley as the year goes on, I was excited early. I was waiting, okay, what wrinkles is he going to throw in? When are we going to start seeing cover 6? When are we going to see cover 5? Are they going to work any cover 7? Like, what are we going to do to mix it up? And it's literally cover 3 on first down, cover 3 on second down, cover 3 buzz with Dallin Levitt and dime on third down. Or if they really want to get tricky, they go cover 1 robber or cover 1 cross or something out of the same look. It's the same thing week in and week out. You haven't seen a lot of diversity. You haven't seen them change up the playbook. So now that teams see what's out there on tape, they know exactly what they're going to get pretty much every down when they play the Raiders. The one good thing that did come out of this game is this is the first week where you saw Trayvon Moore actually, when they go to play man out of cover 1 and dime personnel, he's going down in the slot and he's manning up the tight end, which leaves Abram or Levitt as the deep middle defender. But Trayvon Merrick, I know he dropped the touchdown that cost the game. He should have caught it. I'm on board with that. I've tweeted it. I sent out the video.
Yeah.
It's not Carr's fault. Everyone wants to attack me. Like, well, if he caught that, they would have won the game. Why did you tweet out Carr's missed it, Deshaun Jackson? The stuff I get is crazy. If I could screenshot all of them and send them to you, you'd have I should make a coffee table book of all the random stuff I get. Like, you trader, you sent out one play. What about all these other 8? Hey, buddy, check the timeline. Go back 4 years. I have pretty much 20 plays from every game.
God. That's funny.
But yeah, start to see Trayvon Merrick show up in pass coverage. He's getting sticky. Scramble really stays on the tight end. Yeah, he should have caught the interception for sure. But that was the one wrinkle this week, as he started to see him more in man coverage. I'm not thrilled with having Dallin Levitt having to play the deep middle or Jonathan Abram, but unfortunately they didn't work anything down the field to take advantage of that. Maybe we see more of that. Maybe they're getting ready for Kansas City, to where Merrick is going to be the guy in those situations that covers Kelsey. But overall, I don't want to spend too much time on the tape from Washington football game. It was brutal.
It was brutal. Yeah.
Just the one play to Deshaun Jackson. I understand, like, he's looking at Hunter Renfrow. The play we're talking about, there's 22 seconds left in the game. The Raiders have one timeout. They're running 3 deep curls out of a 3-by-1 to the field. Deshaun Jackson is number one to the field. He's on the sideline. Basically, he runs a 12-yard curl. He's got 10, 12 yards of cushion. Throw it out. The read is the sideline, because you need to get out of bounds and conserve the clock.
Yeah.
Carr throws it to the middle of the field, or actually he throws it to number 2, which is Hunter Renfrow. Tackle, timeout of 10 seconds, basically have to throw a Hail Mary. So there was other stuff I could have tweeted out. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I didn't want to get too much into it this week, but it was a pretty bad game by the entire offense. But let's move on to the next topic.
Yeah, let's move on. On to Kansas City. I didn't want to hit Kansas City, and I didn't want to go through some of the head coaching vacancy guys who we want to see become head coaches. Sorry, Dabo. Kansas City playing good defense. And it's kind of a surprise as far as that goes. But listen, good for them. I mean, listen, I'm not a Chiefs fan, but good for them. They're playing good football. Spagnuolo's really getting it done. He's even found a role for Sorensen, who is one of the worst cover people in the league, but he's making plays and is dancing in the end zone last week. What are your thoughts about the Chiefs? Let's go through some of the last opponents they faced. They've given up 17, 7, 14, 9, and 9 as far as points given up per game. Early in the year, they were giving up 29, 30, 38 points to the Bills. So they've calmed that down a lot. And their offense has not really kind of taken off. I mean, they had the game in Vegas, but we all know how that got away from the Raiders in that one, but they've been doing a really good job defensively. And I think that's kind of a different way of looking at Kansas City. Maybe their defensive coordinator should be looking for head coaching jobs now. We actually know, because when he was the Rams, he was horrible. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think specifically at home, a lot of those games have been home where they've been able. Yes. Now I'm going to throw the Green Bay game out the window. They played Jordan Love, but they were good against Dallas specifically. Last week against Denver, again, really well. Denver had been playing fairly well, but it's still Teddy Bridgewater. But overall, I think they're getting healthy more than anything. Tyrann Mathieu, they're moving him around. They put Juan Thornhill in the lineup. They got Frank Clark back. The linebackers are getting pretty healthy, but they have what you're looking for. Melvin Ingram coming off the edge with Frank Clark. They have Chris Jones in the middle. Those 3 linebackers, Hitchens, along with Gay and the rookie Bolton, those guys can all run and hit. The safeties can cover, other than Sorensen. The Raiders need to find Sorensen and figure out how to get him exposed in the passing game. And then the outside corners, I think Fenton's made a nice jump for them. A younger guy, second or third year corner. Mike Hughes has played a little bit for him. Snead, the second-year guy out of Louisiana Tech, is a decent corner. They got Ward over there. So they have some guys. But to attack this team, you got to win outside. You got to win those one-on-one matchups. And I don't think the Raiders, 1, have the guys that can beat those guys, or 2, have the offense that's designed to beat those guys. So we're going to see a lot of unfortunately, you're going to see a lot of underneath stuff. If Darren Waller doesn't play, you're going to see a lot of stuff to the backs. You're going to see a lot of stuff to Hunter Renfrow, and you're probably going to see Tyrann Mathieu come down and play either bracket or play Hunter Renfrow a lot. And then, I could clearly see them using bracket coverage with with one of the linebackers in Mathau, and there's not going to be a lot of stuff open in the middle of the field. They're going to make the Raiders throw the ball outside is my prediction in this game.
So incompletions over the middle then we're predicting. because he's not going to throw the ball outside. I mean,
get the screen game going.
Yeah, I mean, the ball is not going to be thrown outside against the Chiefs without with the people the Raiders have. I just don't see it. So, it's looking bleak. But listen, that's why they play the games, as far as that goes. But what would be I mean, they're offensively, we all are waiting for this Kansas City team to explode. Maybe it's just not going to happen. Some of it's bad luck. I mean, he's had a lot of interceptions that have just gone off of people's hands and other people's hands. Like, I mean, it's just the way it's just the honest to God truth, as far as that goes. So I mean, his interception total could be a lot less right now, and they could have more touchdowns, but. Usually, Andy does a great job in this spot here. I mean, after the bye in December, November, December football. I mean, that's why he's in the playoffs. He's lived his career in the playoffs. So a lot, some years up, some years down. But as far as the Chiefs offense goes, there's no injury or anything like that. What has been really kind of bogging them down is just been the 3 safety look or the too high look. I mean, what people are just like, just forcing other people to beat them besides Hill and Kelsey.
Yeah, it's the too high looks. It's taking away the explosive stuff down the field to Hill. And then, when you get into down and distance, third down, second and long, they're bracketing Hill, doubling Hill and Kelsey, and forcing Mecole Hardman to win, to forcing the backs to win in the passing game, which Mahomes doesn't want to go to. He did the first game in Vegas. Like, he came in and took those swing routes.
Oh yeah, of course he did.
To Williams all
thank
day.
You. Of course he did.
Like, he had 8 or 9 catches for 100 yards in that game.
Seriously.
So he has shown that he has been able to. Early in the season, they moved the ball fine. They just turned the ball over at a high rate. Guys are fumbling. Yeah. Kelsey was fumbling. Hardman was fumbling. Hill was fumbling. Then you had some interceptions, some bad interceptions, some tipped interceptions. But they were still moving the ball out. They don't create a lot of 3 and outs. Even when they started the season, when they were, 2 and 4, whatever they were, 2 and 3. It was in the first 5th or 6th week. They only had 5 3 and outs the whole season through the first month and a half. So they were still moving the ball pretty well. And they're starting to move the ball a little bit better. They're starting to run the ball a little bit more. They're giving the ball to Gore. They're giving the ball to Williams. They're giving the ball to Edwards-Helaire. So Andy Reid's never going to come out and hand the ball off, 3 or 4 plays in a row. It's always going to be, okay, I did my 1 run play. Let me go back to my spreadsheet and start throwing the ball around the yard. But they're definitely a team that could pick up some steam here. The offensive line's playing a little bit better. So this is definitely a game that's going to be very difficult for the Raiders to win.
No question about it. And this week looks like Mullen, Gillespie, and Littleton practice today.
Yeah,
I believe so. So that's a good sign. I mean, this would be a good week for Mullen to get back. I mean, they definitely could use Mullen. No question about it. I did see a Roto World article where Mahomes talked about, he will always be that guy who relentlessly throws the ball down the field. That's why that Raider game was so frustrating when he took everything. And took everything underneath for the first time all year, as far as that goes. But they really enjoy beating the Raiders. So they know what it means for their fan base to beat the Raiders. So they're gonna look for them to do some uncommon things. I think they're gonna run the football a lot too. Like, they're not gonna try to, if you play too deep, they're just gonna run the football. Until they're gonna do uncommon things that they don't usually do just to beat the Raiders and keep this streak alive. 8-4. They're trying to get number 1 seed now. So they're looking. They don't want to lose any AFC games as far as that goes. Prediction.
This would be a good week for that Gus Bradley defense in San Diego that always had so much success against Kansas City to show up. Hopefully they don't just come out and play cover 3 with some cover 1 on third down. So my prediction for this game, Raider fans, turn away. We're not the Homer show. We pick them as we see them. This offense right now just doesn't do anything for me.
Yep.
Like I said, when you're converting 2 third downs a week for the past 5 weeks, when you're scoring in the teens 4 of the last 5 games, I don't see how they can go on the road and win in Kansas City. They're not going to be able to run the ball. They're not going to be able to keep the ball away from Kansas City. They're going to lose the time of possession battle most likely. I think it's going to be something like 34-13, 34-17.
Okay.
Like until like I think I said it last week, till the Raiders score 20 in a game, I'm just not going to pick them. So
Yeah, that's fair.
I
That's
just
fair.
can't. Like so
That's
right
fair.
now I'm going to
That's
say
fair.
let's say 30
That's fair.
34-17.
It's weird. For some reason I'm just gonna pick up the cover, the 8.5. I'm not picking them to win the game though, and maybe a backdoor cover at best. I think they're probably looking at 20. I think like 27-20. The Chiefs win. I just don't. This would be the ultimate tease, the ultimate girl with the curl if the Raiders actually won this game. But I don't see it. I don't see it. And then also I think the crew who's on is going to be throwing is like it's a flag throwing crew, so you can look for those as well. Some
Who is it?
penalties.
I haven't seen it yet.
I think it's Brad something. I forgot. I had it in my notes and I can't find it now.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
We'll talk about potential head coaches, and I'll see if I can find it. Potential head coaches for the Raiders. We have our list here. You want to go first with a couple of guys, and I can kind of talk about, we'll talk about some guys back and forth real quick.
Yeah, I recorded another podcast today. I went over 5 specific guys in pretty good detail. If anyone wants to hear that, they can do the Full Press Raiders podcast. But I went with offensive-minded guys. I think the Raiders need to get an offensive coach, get this offense fixed, because you're going to want continuity if you have any success. The defensive coaches are great. I like them, but if the offense is any good, you're going to lose them in a year or two.
Draft, yeah.
So I'd like to focus on the offense. I'm not trying to talk myself into it. I really think Doug Peterson is a candidate here because I think Mark Davis is going to want a guy with some experience, a guy that's won a Super Bowl, a guy that can come in and take over the offense.
I agree.
A guy that went to the playoffs in 3 of his 5 years. We want to talk bad about him. He has a winning record. He's been to the playoffs in 3 of his 5 years. He had the number 1 scoring offense in the league in 2017 with a second-year Carson Wentz. He kind of got a raw deal at the end of his career there in Philadelphia, some disagreements with Howie Roseman, with Jeffrey Aloria. If Mayock stays, I think Peterson is the front runner for this job. If Mayock goes, then I expect him to go another direction.
So, and I'm the first guy on my list was Doug Peterson as well. And I think that for a lot of reasons you say, do we know that he wants to just void all these contracts? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it shouldn't come down to that. But you have a guy who Raider fans would kind of be, they can be pissy with it, but like, you can't sit there and say Doug Peterson knows offense, coached under Andy Reid, won a Super Bowl. Won a Super Bowl in a fashion with, let's be honest, like he won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles slinging.
He beat New England in the Super Bowl.
Beat New England Super Bowl. Like they had, the same guy this week who basically ran the ball, threw the ball 3 times and won in a windstorm in Buffalo, had no answers for Nick Foles in that passing game. So that's something that's something you would think about. I think that definitely means that Derek is back. I don't think if you get Doug Peterson, to get Doug Peterson, there's no way Derek is not on this football team. And I think, for him, it's time to, I think it's the perfect scenario because you get the 1 year with Derek and then you say, listen, dude, I have no tie to you, cousin. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've done this before where I had a young quarterback and I had another veteran come in and take over and I won a Super Bowl. So you're in this position, like, you know what I'm saying? You want to, you talk about, you want to be here and you want to do it, whatever. You want to please me, win some goddamn football games. Like, I think he only had one, I think one losing season. I don't remember. I know he's 42-37 as far as that goes. We mentioned, I only mentioned Kevin O'Connell because, with the Rams, because everybody wants the next McVay. So, if they want to go cheap and they want to get somebody like that, I would say go out there and get him. We know about, Brian Daboll. I'm interested to see what Daboll does in the game 2 against the Patriots. Can you talk about Daboll a little bit?
Yeah, Daboll actually went down on my list as I did some research the last 2 days, looking into kind of his coaching career. he hasn't stayed at a job very long. That's kind of my one concern. And looking at it, he's been in the NFL since 2000. But if you start looking around 2009, it was 2 years as the offensive coordinator under Eric Mangini in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
The offense was ranked 29th and 32nd, not very
Mm-hmm.
good. 2011, 1 year offensive coordinator under Tony Sparano in Miami, 20th ranked offense, not very good.
Mm-hmm.
2012, offensive coordinator Kansas City under Romeo Crennel, 1 year, ranked 24th in offense. So he's gotten it taken away from him pretty quickly at 3 different stops. Ended up as a tight ends coach in New England, ended up at Alabama as an offensive coordinator,
Of
won a
course.
national championship there.
Of course.
Now, I will give him credit. He took Josh Allen. He resurfaces in Buffalo in 2018 as the offensive coordinator there with Josh Allen, raw prospect, big tools, physical traits.
Mm-hmm.
He turned him into an MVP candidate by his 3rd year, but 2018 and 2019, they were 30th and 23rd, respectively, in scoring. The first 2 years with Josh Allen, not very good. But he did get his completion percentage from 52% up to 69% by year 3. And in the last 2 years, 2nd in scoring in 2020, 5th in scoring in 2021. So they are scoring the ball. There's a balance issue here. They don't run the ball very well.
They don't.
You take away the quarterback runs, like Josh Allen has accounted for over 400 yards rushing each of the last 2 years. It's not very good. So this is going to be a pass-heavy offense. Not being able to run the ball. Some questions about him. Like, now, Brandon, he didn't have great quarterbacks in Cleveland, Miami, or Kansas City. Those weren't great head coaches. And Eric Mangini, Tony Sparano, Romeo Crennel. I'd interview him. He's come down on my list, like I said, after looking kind of into his career. But he should get an interview just because of what he's done with Josh Allen.
What are your thoughts about, if I say the name Brian Leftwich, what do you think about that name?
So this one's interesting. I was a no in the Leftwich guy about a month ago when he had this conversation. I'm a yes now. Looking at his numbers, again, just brief recap, 41 years old. He's only been coaching for 5 years, but I remember the toughness this guy had in college at Marshall, playing on basically a broken leg. His linemen are carrying him down the field. What really sold me here was, I thought, oh, he's only doing good because he has Tom Brady. Let me look at the numbers. Well, in 2019, with Jameis Winston, you'd be surprised that the offense was pretty much just as effective as it is now. So just the quick numbers, Winston threw for 5,100 yards, 33 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. Everyone knows the 30-30 kind of joke with the interceptions. But if you look under the hood, they were 3rd in scoring at 29 points a game. They were 3rd in the red zone with Jameis Winston. They were 13th and 3rd down. They were the #1 passing team in the league.
You're 3rd in the red zone?
3rd in the red zone. with Jameis Winston.
Sign me up.
They were 24th in running the ball, so they couldn't really run it. But if you want to compare it to what Tom Brady's done, they're 25th last year in running with Tom Brady, 24th or 25th this year. So it's the same, but the numbers are the same. They were top 3 in scoring all 3 years.
Yeah.
So he produced points with either quarterback. They were first, third, and first in passing yardage. So they've been a top 3 passing offense all 3 years, regardless of who the quarterback was. They're basically 3rd and 9th on third down the last 2 years, and they're 5th and 11th in the red zone the last 2 years. So the offense was just as productive, minus the turnovers. Clearly, that's the difference here. You know, when Jameis is throwing pick sixes, then you're giving up points on defense. But I was surprised at how good the offensive numbers were with Winston and how they're very comparable to what they have been with Brady.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting to me, because I mean, when I think of him, I think the first thing I think about is just leadership. And I really think he really could be a leader, a dynamic leader. Do you think that, do you have anybody else you want to kind of throw out there? I don't want to dominate the conversation about it.
Yeah, well, quickly on Leftwich, the other comment I make, if Raider fans want down the field vertical passing game, Leftwich is your guy. Played under Bruce Arians at the end of his career. He's been with Bruce Arians in Arizona, with Carson Palmer when they were throwing YOLO balls down the field. Obviously, they've been doing that for 3 years in Tampa. So if they want the down the field vertical passing game, go with Leftwich. The other guy I kind of did a little bit of research on was Kellen Moore, who's the other candidate. This is the young whiz kid in Dallas, the offensive coordinator. 33 years old. He's only been in the NFL for 4 years. But he's highly creative. He's got a high football IQ. And again, when you look under the hood, what are the numbers? Now, I know who he has, the offensive line. I know Zeke Elliott. I know Tony Pollard, Dak Prescott. Gallup, Cooper, Lamb. We can go down all the weapons, but if you look at, let's look at last year when Dak got hurt. What do the numbers look like? When Dak was healthy, they had the number one passing team through 5 weeks with 3 400-yard games. It's pretty good. But when he left over the course of the season, he's running out Andy Dalton, Ben DiNucci, those kind of guys. They still finished 17th in the league at 25 points a game and 13th in yards per game. So they're still middle of the pack with trash quarterbacks. Yeah. Now, granted, he had good weapons. But if you look at it, his first year in 2019, they're number 1 in offense and yards, number 2 in passing, number 5 in rushing. There's balance. This team runs the ball and they throw the ball. They have a very their scheme offensively in the run game and the passing game. It's more about players. How am I going to get the ball to this guy rather than forcing them into the system, which I think is what the Raiders need. They need a guy that can go to the strengths of all the guys individually and not just try to plug them into a system. And this year, they're first in yards again. They're 6th in rushing and 4th in passing. So there is extreme balance to the offense that Kellen Moore runs. And we know they can score points. They were 6th in scoring in 2019. They're 2nd in scoring this year.
Yeah, cool. And then just formationally, they when you watch them on tape, they do some really cool things as far as that goes. So I think so. You could cover all the guys I want to kind of discuss as far as that goes. Dabo Swinney, I know he's at the game. That doesn't mean anything. And he's not bringing that quarterback with him. Because who knows as far as that goes. Got any picks? Our picks have been so great. Last couple of let's be doing this. You have any picks for this week as far as that goes?
I got 3. I was good early on. I haven't, thank God I haven't kept track of my record. I went 0-3 last week. I thought I'm going to stay within the AFC West. I got this. No, I don't. So let's use reverse psychology. I'm going to Kansas City. I'll take the Chiefs. I'll lay the 8.5 against the Raiders. I think they're going to win by double digits. Hopefully I'm wrong. Knock on wood, the Raiders win this game, but I just don't see how they stay within 10 points of Kansas City. I like Tampa Bay this week at home. Only giving up 3 against Buffalo. Buffalo can't run the ball. I think Tampa Bay is getting healthy on defense. Carlton Davis came back last week. You're starting to see, a couple of the corners. I think they can get after Josh Allen. I love their linebackers. And if they're not going to run the ball, Todd Bowles is going to have all kinds of blitzes coming at Josh Allen. So I think Tampa Bay can win that game by more than a field goal. And I like Dallas this week, a road team, but I think they go into Washington. 4.5 is a decent number, but Washington still has, one of the worst pass defenses in the league. They don't have those edge rushers. Sweet was supposed to come back this week. Sounds like he's on the COVID list. Chase Young is not coming back. So I think Zach Martin can cancel out one of those interior rushers that can double the other guy. I think Dak Prescott's going to have a pretty big game this week going down to Washington. And it's a divisional game. They need to keep winning to keep Washington and Philadelphia behind them. Yeah. I think 4.5 is a pretty easy number to lay here. I'm
going to go. I think the Seahawks will keep it going. Texans released Zach Cunningham. So they have a standard there in Texas. They want to make, you can't beat that standard as far as that goes. I like the Lions this week to cover the 8.5 in Denver. And then I'm with you with the Cowboys. I think if the Cowboys don't flex their muscle this week, I mean, if they allow Washington win that game, that's going to be embarrassing. That's gonna be tough for them to swallow. They might lose the division. And if that team doesn't make the playoffs, that's going to be a nightmare. Because with the way, that would be just hilarious. They didn't make the playoffs. But as far as that goes, so you can catch us here. I'm going to cover 3D. I'm sorry. The Put on Raiders podcast. You have us here. You want to hear a little bit more Ryan? You can go to the full press Raiders.
Full press Raiders, yeah.
Yeah, full press Raiders podcast as well. So you can double your Ryan during the week if you want to do that. Listen, they're in a tough spot. They're a tough spot. So we gotta, I don't know how we can go back and forth on whose fault it is, but at the end of the day, the scoreboard has not been in their favor, and they have not played good football out of the bye, which is something that they have not done in a long time as far as that goes. Anything in parting before we go?
No, that's about it. I think the fans that are holding on to playoff, grasping for straws at this point. Let's hope the Raiders figured out how to win 4 of the last 5, and they get there. I'd love nothing more for them to do that. Mm-hmm. The secret sauce, though, is kind of run the ball, stop the run, convert on third down, score in the red zone, stop teams in the red zone. And those are all things the Raiders aren't good at right now. So no new players are coming to the door the rest of this season. So it's upon the guys in the locker room to step up, and it starts this week. They need to go into Kansas City and find a way to win. And just win, baby. Not just win, maybe. As Amy Trask put out last week on Twitter. I thought that was funny.
That was funny. Amy sharp. She's sharp. She's pretty good. She's pretty good.
I wish I thought about that.
I know. Somebody has to like get those t-shirts out made immediately right now for Versace. But yeah, and the Raiders also did sign the kicker and the punter. AJ Cole's deal is good too. Is he signed too?
Yeah, they're both 4-year deals. The money came out on Carlson before we got recording. I don't know if it's out yet on Cole. I want to say, this is off the top of the head, I don't have the numbers in front of me. Carlson was 4 years, 18 million, little over 10 million guaranteed. So he's locked in here for at least 3 years until we see how that money is laid out. But Rich Versace is getting those guys paid. Hopefully Dallin Levitt is not next on the special teams stalwarts extension list before Rich exits stage right.
Well, just remember the Raiders extended this year so far: Andre James, AJ Cole, and Daniel Carlson. Not exactly.
Not Hunter Renfrow. Wake me up when
Max
it's Renfrow
Crosby. Crosby, wake me up, please. All right, brother. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Take care.